like Lynn, you and me, buddy, getting a day off.
Maybe another day. Maybe. We'll have a come on, we see both for you. Yep.
Go ahead, Kyle, come on. Give me a hand, ladies and gentlemen. Your shirt. Always look at your shirts. Great shirts.
I'm 8 years old, but yeah.
Yeah, it's good though
That
still.
means that you stay the same shape.
Yeah, you're still in great shape.
Thank you.
It's like golf.
Still a young man.
That concludes today's session.
Yeah.
Kyle and Dominic in the dugout. It's gonna be a show.
I would watch
web
it.
series.
I would watch
Be a good
that.
sitcom.
I would watch that. Well, Donnie, just talking to Mel in the clubhouse, he felt like Pablo really got back to looking like himself in his last start, especially with that changeup usage. Is that what you noticed? You know, what stood out about Pablo's last start, and maybe just kind of looking like himself again?
I thought he was more aggressive. Even got quite a few balls in, I thought, to Philly, especially the lefties, and kind of keep him from hanging out over the plate on him. Obviously, his changeup usage has been his pitch, and he kind of got away from it a little bit and got his usage back up to where it needed to be. Other than that, I mean, he seems to be holding on to all his stuff. I thought it was one of his better games, quite honestly, the last time out.
Tonight he makes his 30th start. What significance does that have for you?
It's the most he's ever made.
Very good, Don.
No.
He's
No.
never made more than, what, 21 or so, I think.
No, I think that's kind of the standard, right? You make 30 starts, and a guy that shows your durability takes a lot. You know, it takes maybe a little bit of luck, but it's a lot of work that these guys put into staying out there every 5 days or 6 days sometimes. So I think it says a lot about Pablo's, just perseverance and what he's been through. That's a continuing changing of the routine to get the right one, right? Because maybe he was overdoing it, underdoing it, whatever it was. Now he's starting to find the right mixture to be able to have 30 starts.
Helps in the future too, right? These are building blocks.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think just the building of the routine, where he knows that this works for me, and he's been good about. Mel pushes these guys, and it's hard for young guys to cut back late in the year, and their bullpens aren't quite as they're not throwing as many pitches in there. They're saving bullets, knowing that he's into the late part of the season. And that's with all of them, not just Pablo.
I wanted to ask you early impressions of Jordan. Obviously, you've seen him at short, you've seen him at third, you've seen him some at second in the minors this year. How he handles himself at the plate and in the field.
Yeah, I like the way Jordan's looked. It's probably been, for a guy that hadn't played a ton of third base, he's done a nice job over there. He's got plenty of arm for third. I think his at-bats have been good. He shows that I think he's a guy that's going to be kind of a gap-to-gap guy with some power as he keeps growing into that body. So I think he's been fine. I think just going through he doesn't seem overmatched. But again, we'll just let him keep getting at-bats, gain experience this year, and moving towards next.
I know you talked a little about Jazz last week when he was ruled out for the year. What you would like to see, as someone obviously has helped develop, mentor him here, next step for him to become an even better big leaguer would be what?
I think just continue to build his routines. We talk about Pablo and these guys, but the guys that play every day, they build good routines where it allows them to, gives them the best chance to stay healthy. Jazz is a guy that hits the ground a lot. He's diving, he's running. He does a lot of things on the field. So those guys are more susceptible to injury. I think I'd just like to see him continue to grow in his just consistency of his work. The talent's, in a sense, off the charts. He's going to be able to do a lot of things on the field. He's naturally gifted. But those guys, if they'll get consistent with their work and stay on that every day, it's kind of hard for them. He has a chance to really grow and grow faster.
Back to Jordan, it's a 3-week sample size of here in the big leagues for him. Just how much can you gauge from a guy in that amount of time? I know the other guys who've been up here basically about 2 months or so. With the 3 weeks, how much can you judge heading into the offseason?
Yeah, I think you can really only judge what you see. A lot of times they'll say you don't want to make judgments in spring or in September because it's just a different time of year. But you do get an idea of what his swing looks like here. Is he overmatched? How he's handling things? If he's having a rough day? How's he handle that? Things like that. But to make a true assessment, it takes more time than that.
It's 2 straight games against Wendell, okay, or
He's got some little bumps and bruises right now. He had a slide the other day in DC, and he came up a little bit sore. So yeah, he's dealing with some bumps and bruises. Just want to be careful with him. I don't want to send him in the off season on the IL, not on the IL, but having to do rehab type stuff. So we want to make sure he gets back to 100%.
I know the rosters
before we put him back out there.
were recently expanded. Were there any other players over the last few weeks that have really stood out to you a little bit that are really good building blocks as you not only wind down the year, but you get ready for next year?
Well, pretty much with September now, you really only get 2 extra guys, and one's a pitcher and one's a position player. In general, you could have 2 position players, I guess. So I don't know if there's anybody that really just stands out. I think there's some guys getting good opportunity. I think like an Andrew Nardi, it's really good for him to be here, just to experience this, the pace of the game and the speed of the game, because we think his stuff plays. You know, he's a guy that's got a good fastball. He can throw at the top of the zone. He's got a good breaking ball. Sometimes you got to relax to get to that. So I think just these little steps are going to be good for him. And the other guys really just kind of Dela coming back and kind of, you know, having a good last month is probably going to be good for him, and, you know, allow decisions to be made on what they think he's part of next year. Yeah, so I mean, the rest of the guys you just want to see. You want to see JJ, you want to see Encarnacion, and kind of hopefully gauge, you know, where you think they're at this point.
JJ playing right field. As of right now, I guess on the active roster you think might be best, not suited for center field, but looks the most comfortable out there?
I'm not sure we have a true center fielder on our roster. Dela's look good out there. I think JJ in general has looked good out there. He's had some trouble around the wall, but other than that, I mean, JJ's been pretty solid. But those 2 guys really are the only guys that we have here. I think that we feel good about playing center right now.
Tom, what did Braxton Garrett show you before he got hurt this year? Have it changed your perception of him as a potential big league starter at all?
This guy probably has grown more than any of our other guys, I think, this year. You know, he kind of changed his arm angle just a little bit in the off season, and he's throwing a 2-seam now with 2 breaking balls and a changeup. He showed that he can get the ball to all parts of the plate, in and away from lefties and righties, and he can go up and down. And as a true, this guy's really competitive, and he's smart and he picks things up. So he may have made, you know, some of the biggest jumps this year as far as saying, hey, this guy's got a chance to pitch in the big leagues for a while.
Let's talk about Sandy Alcantara. Obviously, he continues to make a good case to try to get the Cy Young Award. And I know there's probably a lot of other ones out there, but he reminds me of a guy that even though the team is struggling a little bit, you can find guys on struggling teams that make a good case to win Cy Young Awards. How do you like what you're seeing with him down the stretch?
No, Sandy's been great all year long. I mean, everybody's going to have, he's had a couple of games here and there that weren't his best, but Sandy's really been kind of dominant all year long. So, you know, I'm biased. I think he's as good as they get out there right now, and has had as good a year as anybody, if not better. So, but you are correct in saying that there's a lot of guys that have had good years also. So I'm sure there's other cities and other managers that feel the same way about their pitchers.
Saw Avi doing some, I guess, jogging, running drills earlier. Is it still kind of, I guess, day-to-day, see what he does? But is there still maybe optimism he can return at the end of the season? Or?
Yeah, I'm optimistic, honestly. I think part of that, too, is making sure that he's 100%. There may be a little bit of a split. Does he need to come back or not come back? In my opinion, Avi should direct out a little bit if he's going to be, you know, is it worth coming back for the last 5 days of the year or something like that? So we're moving that way. So, but he's doing fine. He looks good. He's running good. He's obviously improving. The decision if he's going to try to play or not, I don't think anybody's made that yet.
Donnie, Baseball America released their list of best tools for this season. A couple Marlins made the list, including Sandy as the best NL pitcher, Miggy, you know, one of the best defensive shortstops. Just curious on a couple categories, who do you think are some of the most exciting players in the National League?
Most exciting? Well, there's a few. If you look at Trey Turner, he's one of those guys. Mookie Betts, Acuna, you have to put in that category, the things that he can do. Yeah, different ways of exciting. JT behind the plate is really one of those guys that's like, for a catcher, you look at him and like you're pretty amazed at the number of games he plays and what he's doing for his club. I'm sure I'm leaving off a ton of guys.
Jazz here.
Yeah, Jazz is one you would put in the category. I think if you look at Marte in New York, he's obviously a guy we had. He's one of the best, most well-rounded players. There's a lot of guys out there. I'm sure I'm leaving a ton of guys off the list. So anyway,
Edwin Diaz maybe with his entrance.
yeah, that's pretty good too.
Yeah.
When you face the Cubs, is there any special feeling that you have when you face an organization like that with such rich tradition? I know that you face them every year, but the Cubs are the Cubs, and they're pretty popular anyways.
I don't think of it like that too much, other than like when you're there, I think you get a little bit more involved with that because Wrigley's such a special place, and that fan base is so loyal, and it's just a good environment there.
Right.
You think about it more when you're there than like when they're here.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Trevor had a good one the